Hello and welcome to the Nerd in Motion YouTube channel. An interesting one today, as always. This one's about the budget and specifically electric cars and the pay per mile thing that everybody is looking at. And I mean, there's some questions I have, but first we need to go back a few years and we need to look at something one of my friends said. A gentleman called Geoff buys cars on YouTube. He called out the pay per mile thing way before this video, before 2 years ago. He was already talking about it, and I couldn't find the specific videos, but I'm sure Geoff on his channel will tell you when he started talking about it. And Reddit groups were calling him an idiot and saying he's a conspiracy theorist and blah 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 blah. Well, let's just watch this video and see how accurate he might have been.
The report said the Treasury faced a £25 billion budget black hole in the near future as receipts from fuel duty dwindled. It added that the government should respond by introducing road pricing for electric vehicles, meaning their owners would pay per mile driven. Would you be prepared to do that? A pay-per-mile system, is that a better system? And do you own an electric vehicle? What has been your experiences in terms of cost? 0344 499 1000. Let's speak with Geoff Thompson, presenter at Geoff Buys Cars YouTube channel. How are you, Geoff?
Good afternoon. Good to see you again.
Nice to have you with us. I don't know how long we've been... I mean, the pay-per-mile...
Geoff had been on a Bush Tucker trial, hence the hat, and actually... the seat cover is from a kangaroo that he skinned. I'm only joking.
Thing, it kind of is on a bit of a merry-go-round, that one, isn't it? It comes around, we debate it, then it sort of goes away again, and then it returns. And this think tank are saying, actually, it should return. It's right that it returns, and it's right it's implemented, particularly for electric cars, because they cause more damage. Do you sense that as being a fair comment, or is that bunkum?
I think it's a fair comment. I think it was naive of people to think that they were going to be able to run their electric cars road tax free forever.
Yeah.
I think the last time you and I spoke, we were discussing the ULEZ, the low emission zone. And since then, I've realized that the expansion of the ULEZ really was a bit of a Trojan horse to bring in this road user charging. And I don't think it's good news.
It's almost like they were testing a system on us whilst telling us that they weren't testing a system on us.
So in terms of pay per mile, I mean, it's quite difficult, isn't it? Because road tax doesn't specifically go on roads, right? So you pay this enormous amount of money, which has gone up considerably over the last few years. And you think, well, I don't mind, because it's going to fill that pothole at the end of the road. And you look down the end of your road 5 years later and the pothole's still there and loads of other stuff still isn't working. So it's always been a bit of a kind of...
I'd like to say that Kirklees Council have used all their money to sort out the pot. No, they haven't. No, sorry.
Curious way to work out how or why or where or who spends the money on our roads. But is pay per mile, in theory, a better way of doing things?
I'm not convinced. I mean, effectively, we already do pay per mile. We do have a pay per mile system, which is in place based on fuel revenue. So the more miles you drive, the more tax you pay because the more fuel you are putting in. This seems to me like another one of those dystopian control systems, because how are they going to put the pay per mile in? Well, they're going to use lots of cameras. So once again, it seems to be more about control and monitoring where you're going. I can't see that going down this route is a good thing for motorists. I think there's enough charges already on motorists with just generally the cost of running a car. We have fuel tax, we have road.
It's funny, we're paying as ICE car owners, obviously the tax on fuel, but what does the government think people charge their cars with? Is that not converted fuel at some point? And that energy has already had a bunch of tax paid on it. So you're getting taxed when you create the energy and put it in your car, and now you're getting taxed again for driving it.
Road tax, both of which are pretty high rates relative to how many other countries do it. It seems to me like this is, more about control and monitoring than it is actually about revenue.
On the point, Geoff, of electric cars.
Call me tinfoil hat man, but it's funny how this was said 2 years ago. Now we're talking about digital ID. Then they were talking about how they could incorporate that so we don't have to have a passport and maybe put our bank details on. Now they've got cars that also grass on you. So all the new vehicles that are coming out have geofencing. They measure the mileage. They report everything back to the manufacturer, who has to share this data with the government. And then maybe so they can oh, hang on a minute, the internet. We get tracked now on the internet, and then we have to use our IDs and share that information. So we're tracked on the internet. We're tracked where we go. We have a digital ID card that we can't do anything like go to work without having. Yeah, it's funny because these conspiracy theories they seem to be coming true rapidly over the hill.
Themselves, different data seems to pop up. Some say the electric car sales world, the sale of electric cars, has kind of stabilised. What are you hearing on that front?
Well, I'm still wearing my Save the Planet, Crush a Tesla t-shirt. But I did...
How ironic that is. Teslas were super green, and now, because the left don't like Mr. Musk, you can crush a Tesla, Geoff, again, ahead of the time.
I do believe that the sales are flagging. I've done a couple of videos on this. It seems to me like early adopters of electric cars, people who jumped ship early on, thinking it was a great idea. They're perhaps finishing up their 3-year lease. And I think many people are not renewing. They're going back to petrol and diesel cars. Yeah. I seem to be reading quite a few articles in pretty well-regarded publications where journalists are actually saying, I moved to an electric car for all the right reasons, and here's my article on why I'm now moving back to a diesel. So jury's out on that one. I don't think second-hand car dealers want to buy them at auction, which is impacting prices as well. Again, another thing I've done a video on. So we shall see. They're still selling, but how they perform in the second-hand market is really going to be key, because it will affect the residual values, and that'll have a knock-on effect with their new values as well.
And that's funny, because that leads me nicely into the next thing I was going to talk about. Labour have this habit of leaking everything in the budget before it happens, almost like, sorry, I'm looking at this camera. They leak everything because, well, maybe it's like with toddlers and we need to be told what time to go to bed. Like, hey, John, in 10 minutes you're going to bed. Hey, John, in 5 minutes you're going to bed. Oh, it's time to go to bed, John. And I feel like Labour do that because we are the great unwashed and we need to be mollycoddled into everything. Now, when they released that information, people were trying to offload electric cars like they were going like mouldy potatoes, not hot potatoes, mouldy cold ones. People wanted rid of them because they already depreciate, but now there's even less reason to have them. And let's not forget the reason why we have diesel cars on such a high level is because the government promoted diesel cars as being cleaner because they produce less CO2. And that was because the people that were in charge of vehicles and transport had no idea what they're doing because they're politicians and not experts. And they don't listen to, well, the people that are advisors around them clearly aren't very good at what they do either. So you spend 5 minutes in a room with a car that's diesel, and spend 5 minutes in a room with a car that's petrol, and you will know straight away which one's cleaner. I'm just saying. So they've killed the residual value and the reason to own the car. They're giving grants. Let me just get this right from the budget. They're still giving grants to buy the car, but now they're taxing you, luxury car tax, which is now higher, at £474, and now they're charging you 3p a mile if it's fully electric, and 1.5 miles if it's a hybrid plug-in. So 3p a mile, 10,000 miles, that's going to be 300 quid. So you're going to pay nearly 800 quid, very, very close to 800 quid of tax for that car. Now, I bought a 2015 plate Ford C-Max. It cost me £2,000. Bought it off a family member, absolute legend. Sorted me right out. It cost £35 a year to tax. It's the later emissions. I think it's Euro 6, so it's all good. And I pay a tiny bit of tax, and I can leave it anywhere. And if it breaks, I'll just get another one. I'd be surprised if I lose money on it in a year. But I now know that I've only going to have it for 2 years, and I've pretty much saved the value, give or take a few hundred quid, of what a brand new Taycan taxed would cost me. And also, with these values of the luxury car tax, I'd like to know if it's based on cars that may be 2, 3, 4 years old. I don't know. A lot of people are leasing these vehicles, and some people are massively over leveraged because they wanted, like Teslas. I know that people got over leveraged because they really wanted to buy a Tesla to show how holy they were. And now, obviously, they've got some serious tax they're going to have to pay. The plug-in hybrid's interesting because I'm guessing hybrids that aren't plug-in don't have to pay anything. They've moved the amount that the luxury car threshold starts at, and is now 50,000, not 40,000. Which is funny because a lot of the Chinese cars that are coming for sale are just under that bracket. You know, who knows? And then after they completely demolished any good reason for having an electric car, they then decided to invest a lot of money, millions and millions, in EV points. Do they know how the car market works? If you start taxing the hell out of having an electric car, what's going to happen? People aren't going to buy it. The residuals are going to get real low. Nobody's going to want those vehicles. And now you want to invest in more charging points. It makes no sense. And when you look at the whole thing, it's CO2 and carbon this and blah, 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 blah. I've heard it all before. CFCs. I've been underwater, run out of oil and everything. Like, no, when I was a kid, we were all terrified. Acid rain, we're all dying all the time. And now we're pumping stuff into the air to try and block out the sun, because that seems like a really good idea. That's another conspiracy theory, Geoff said, and has turned out to be true. And all this stuff is happening. And these cars they are literally not any more environmentally friendly than a diesel car. And the reason is because of production. When you're digging up and mining for all these various minerals to make the batteries, and then you can't get rid of the batteries, and I think it's something like 6 times more carbon is produced in the manufacturing of an electric car than a standard petrol or diesel one. And that would probably then equal into the amount of emissions that they would possibly put out would still be less than having an electric vehicle. So it goes on and on and on. It's totally ridiculous. But I wanted to say on behalf of those that had a go at Geoff and said, oh, he's conspiracy theorist. Well, he's starting to be right on a lot of stuff. I mean, like, I think I'm gonna do this for him because I think it's the right thing to do. This little microphone, and it's time to drop it. Might drop. Anyway, I've been the nerd. Geoff has been on another video. He's driving around the world at the moment in various cars. He was right. You were wrong. You lot on Reddit, shut up. Suck it up, princess. Right, I'll catch you all on the flip-flop. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all soon.